Alright, welcome back to Martini's Girls and Guns. I'm Sean. Today on my wrist, I've got a Casio G-Shock. That's going to be my thing for the channel. Not really clocking the model number, but it's a G-Shock. So, being that I'm just fresh back from NAB, and everyone had an opinion on this camera, I thought it was nice to follow up my last Fuji video to talk about the GFX Eterna. That's the Fuji medium format filmmaking camera that will be launched sometime this year. No pricing, no nothing, but what we do know is it's got the GFX 100 200 megapixel sensor. It's medium format. It's a G mount that we're all familiar with, but I think I've seen a lot of people comparing this camera to the Blackmagic 12K and the Blackmagic 17K, and I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about where the camera falls in the market. Like, this camera is more or less going to be, in my opinion, a medium format FX6. Yes, there's loads of things missing, but if you think about it, you're looking at a camera that's going to use standard 12, 14 volt batteries, will not be as power hungry as the Blackmagic cameras, has built-in NDs, variable NDs, will have lenses specifically built for it in autofocus. That's something that the other cameras will not be able to boast. I know there's concerns about lack of XLR ports. It does have timecode ins, it does have a proxy card slot, and it does have camera to cloud. So let's address the XLR input situation. Yes, Fuji opted not to build in XLR ports, but they do right out the gate tell you you get the Tascam adapters already available for other Fuji cameras and work on this. It also has a proper LTC timecode input, which means that you can use sync sound, which is what most people will be using. Again, the other thing that people are forgetting when comparing it to the other cameras is the fact that this camera will offer you the ability to shoot compressed codecs, which is going to be key for quick turnaround work, right? If you're shooting things that need quick turnaround, branded content, documentary, and if you're dealing with people in post that are not necessarily in Resolve, we know that while Blackmagic RAW is great if you're in Resolve, I'm a Resolve user myself, it may not be the best for every other NLE. So if you want a codec that goes into every other NLE seamlessly, if your post person's working in Premiere, if they're working FCPX, if they're working in Avid, that's an advantage for the GFX. And I don't think people really understand the importance of built-in NDs and variable NDs. The other advantage is you've got an established lens mount. The G mount for Fuji has been established, and Fuji's got a massive pedigree of lensing, right? For those of you who might be new to filmmaking, may not know that Fuji is Fujinon. Fujinon lenses shoot probably most of the sports you see, right? Fujinon lenses also are massive cinema lenses. If you saw Top Gun Maverick, all the zooms on that were Fujinon. They've got an extensive history of working in the broadcast world as well as the film world. I know everyone's familiar with their history from film, dealing with the film emulations or how they made Fuji film stock back in the day and all that, but they also have an extensive history in the actual broadcast engineering and cinema space that a lot of people are not acknowledging when thinking about this camera. So with that being said, pricing's yet to be determined. We don't know where this thing will land, but people are not understanding where this particular camera falls in. I really think that this could potentially be a medium format FX6. As someone who owns the FX6 as well as owns a Sony Burano, this is a camera that could bring you that medium format aesthetic for documentary branded content. So if you pair this camera with Fuji's immense knowledge of lensing and film emulation, so imagine if you're doing, say, branded content, quick turnaround, you know how much time you could save if you just choose to shoot with one of Fuji's film emulations, pass off the lot to your post guy, and they could just lay that over instead of going through fighting through it. They've also got F-Log 2, which is going to be phenomenal for post. So those are a few of the things that I'm seeing these, reading the comments, because my missus is like, oh, everything's in the comments. So man's just reading comments and everything, and everyone's got an opinion. Why would you buy this over this thing? I think a lot of people are missing the forest for the trees, like Bruce Lee would say. I'm not sure if that's a real Bruce Lee quote, but I think it's a Bruce Lee quote. There's a lot of things that the Fuji GFX Eterna is bringing to the table that random are not really paying attention to. So yes, There's the Blackmagic 17K that is quote unquote accessible medium format, but you got to think about you're going to be switching to 26-volt batteries, right? That camera is proper power hungry. You're not going to have NDs. Lens options are going to change. Autofocus, for you autofocus men out there that love autofocus, Fuji's showing this camera with a lens that will support autofocus. You know, Fuji's got that pedigree. And, you know, they've got tons of lenses already for the GFX series of medium format cameras. So with that being said, I thought it'd be nice to kind of give you lot my opinion on the GFX Eterna. Why am I chatting about the GFX Eterna? Because it's a camera I'm considering. Yes, I own a lot of cameras already. I'm prepping for a feature film, so obviously my film's probably not shooting until next year. So, you know, as long as Fuji drops the camera in time, it may be an option. Concerns about rolling shutter. I find a lot of people's concerns about rolling shutter online amusing. Why do I say that? Because most of you lot started shooting with rolling shutter cameras. Man's been doing this since CCD cameras. Yeah, I shot film in CCD cameras. Yeah, I know I don't look it, but I've got bare years in the trenches with this thing. So you lot have only seen rolling shutter. So you understand the pain of hating rolling shutter. I still own a Sony f55. Yeah, I'm going to do a review of my f55 versus my Burano. That's how much I detest rolling shutter. So I say that to say that people complaining about rolling shutter when all they've ever seen, if you started in a Sony Alpha, a Canon 5D, or any CMOS camera, all you've ever seen is rolling shutter. So complaining about rolling shutter on a camera that's not out yet or concerns about it, it's ridiculous because I've shot automotive. None of you men that's crying about this in the comments are actually using this for anything where the rolling shutter will matter. And let's understand it's medium format. You're not really shooting sports with medium format. So the chatter online about rolling shutter and a medium format camera kind of not making sense to me. But hey, I'm new to the YouTube thing. I do this for real, so you know what I mean, maybe I'm other thing. But anyway, hopefully, you know, my thoughts on this and my crappy cell phone video from NAB helps get you a different perspective on the Fuji GFX Eterna. And catch you man on the next one, where I will be telling you why you should probably start building a collection of medium format lenses now. That's it for this episode of Martini Girls and Guns. I'm Sean Davis. If you found this helpful at all, like, comment, subscribe. It keeps me motivated to keep churning these things out. Cheers.